Hey guys, what's happening? It's the Tominator. So let's go ahead and check out this 2020 New York Pro. And as you can probably infer from the title, I thought it was a good show, deep lineup, but pretty poor judging as far as these things go. But we'll get into that more later. For now, I want to go through this first top four comparison. We'll add in Iain Valliere in a few minutes. So from left to right, you've got Patrick Moore, Justin Rodriguez, Maxx Charles, and Hassan Mostafa. Actually, I'm not even sure that this was a top comparison, but whatever. I like this call out because Maxx Charles is in it. And once again, just like the Arnold, I felt he got somewhat overlooked. He should have had more opportunities to be compared to the top guys, because I have him winning this front double biceps. Yes, the legs aren't all that great, but his upper body is probably the best, with the massive biceps and washboard abs, and his physique just shows the most polish overall. People were saying that he looks kind of like Dexter in this one, and I can see that with the abs and the lat insertions and the big arms and all that. He's not as good as Dex, though, and not even close, but there are some resemblances in this pose. And even from this shoddy-ass live stream footage, you can tell he's got the best conditioning from the front. As for second place, I really like the way Rodriguez hits it, kind of tilted like how Victor Martinez used to do it back in the day. But his legs look even more out of place compared to his upper body than Max's do. His quads are showing the least separation here out of everybody's, so I'd probably have to put Hassan over there on the right in second. Hassan's thighs are ridiculously big, and he's showing some decent definition through the torso also. Patrick is last. Not because I don't like him or think he looks bad or anything, he's highly aesthetic after all. It's that he just doesn't have the mass to hang with this group, and frankly, he looks a little out of place. And that's going to be a common theme with Patrick as we go through some of these mandatories. Yes, he's got a pretty physique. Yes, he's got some really pleasing lines and looks great on his own. But in a call-out line, he tends to get a bit overwhelmed at times. It's more noticeable in some poses than others, though. In the front lat spread here, I think he arguably wins it, because he's able to open up better than anybody else. Justin Rodriguez and Hassan Mostafa have trouble with this one for some reason, and their lats don't look very good. With Hassan, it makes sense because he's structurally narrow across the shoulders, but I have no idea what's going on with Justin. It might just be poor posing execution. Maxx Charles looks good, but he's not filling it out as well as Patrick. That said, he's probably better through the shoulders and arms, and still has a slight edge in conditioning, so it's a toss-up between those two, but let's just give it to Patrick and move on. The side chest is super tough. They all look good here. Right off the bat, Maxx Charles draws my eye the most, and I think he probably wins this, from the waist up that is, because when you go downstairs, it's a bit of a lunch bag letdown. His lower half is easily the worst in this shot, so I don't think you can give it to him, definitely not outright anyway. Mostafa has some crazy roundness going on, from the pecs to the arms to those hamstrings just hanging off him, but sadly he's just not sharp enough. If his conditioning was just like 10% tighter, he wins this one easily. Justin looks a bit too closed off here. He's probably the biggest guy in the lineup, but you would never know it from this pose. So I think he does himself a bit of a disservice. Patrick actually looks the best from head to toe in my opinion. His proportions are on point and the conditioning is second only to Maxx Charles. So even though he's not as big as some of these other guys, I think you gotta give it to him because he has no real weaknesses here. Okay, so they shuffle them around a bit, and looks like we'll get a second look at this side chest. Yeah, I don't like Hassan as much from this angle, but then again, I also don't like Patrick as much either. I actually think Max fares better now standing next to Patrick because you can really see the size discrepancy. And you know what? I'm going to give it to him. So scratch that last call. Maxx Charles takes the side chest. Despite the weak lower body, he's just too good upstairs. Alright, turning around, we finally get a look at these back poses. And damn, Justin Rodriguez looks big as a house. Okay, spoiler alert, but this dude was lights out from the back, I'm telling you. So in this back double, yeah, I mean, it's an easy decision. Justin all day. He looks crazy in this shot. That back is wide, thick, and detailed. The shoulders and arms are huge. Even the glutes and calves are dialed in. I don't mean to get carried away here, but I'm so impressed. That upper body is literally Mr. Olympia material in this pose. And I'm not exaggerating, by the way. He looks that good right now. As for second place, I gotta go with Hassan there on the left. His lower body is way better than Max's, and his back is a bit thicker also. But here's a shot that really exposes Patrick. This is why he came in 6th, guys. I actually thought initially before they announced the final placings that Patrick would come in 5th or 6th, and sure enough, that's how it happened, so I don't blame the judges on that one. Patrick is sort of in a weird no man's land right now. He's like 30 pounds too heavy for classic physique, but still about 20 pounds too light for open class. He really needs to add thickness and density to that back and pack some serious size onto those legs if he wants to start winning shows like this. Anyway, on to the rear lat spread, where once again Rodriguez takes the cake. His back is just too big, and those lats insert so low, this is great stuff. Hassan has good detail through the traps, but the lats aren't flaring out enough, so he looks relatively narrow. I'd probably have to put Maxx in second, because while Patrick has cleaner lines, he's again getting outsized. Not as much as the last pose, but it's still noticeable. Okay, and in the side tricep, I gotta tip my hat. This is great execution by all of them here. I can't even remember the last time I saw an entire callout all hit this shot properly. Awesome stances by Rodriguez and more, but how about the midsections on Charles and Mostafa? Maxx looks amazing, but I gotta cast my vote for Hassan Mostafa. The dude's thickness is just off the charts. Look at the size of those guns, and the pecs even look super beefy. The angle's a little off, so we can't appreciate those hammies on him like we did earlier, but regardless, the flexed and chiseled midsection, coupled with all that thick development, seals the deal here, guys. Maxx is second, and after that, take your pick. There's really no losers in this one. Okay, so it looks like Patrick will get a chance to stand in the middle now, if only briefly. And in the ab and thigh, I'm going with Maxx on this one, believe it or not. For a guy with poor legs, it's surprising, but his conditioning and midsection are so good that sort of makes up for it. Justin's waistline is too blocky and bloated looking, and it makes his thighs appear even smaller than they really are. Patrick is simply too small, and in this pose, his proportions look kind of funny to me, with a too short torso and overly long legs. Hassan Mostafa is also in the running because he's got the best quads by far, and a pretty decent set of abs, but again, his conditioning was just a tad off, and that's hurting him here. I like him more in this second version, though, because it hides his lack of taper. In the most muscular, what's this? 4 hands clasped in a row? What is this, synchronized posing? That's nice of you guys all hitting the same variation for once, so we can easily compare. I wish they always did it like this. So, my initial impressions, Maxx Charles has the best upper body, but Hassan Mostafa has the best lower body. Overall, I'd give it to Maxx. And when they hit the crab, yeah, it's definitely Maxx, man. So tallying it all up, I had Maxx Charles winning the front double, side chest, ab and thigh, and most muscular. Hassan won the side try, Patrick took the front lat spread, and Justin Rodriguez had the 2 back poses. So Maxx is clearly coming out ahead in this group, and yet he only wound up in 5th? This is where I call bullshit on the judges. Maxx should have been no lower than 3rd or 4th. He was the best conditioned athlete of the top 5 and won his share of poses, so what the hell's going on there? Yes, I know his back and especially the legs could be improved, but none of these guys is exactly flawless. They all have weak points. I swear, in this pandemic environment, the IFBB must have put out like their B panel of judges, because I didn't hear Weinberger calling the shots like usual. It was somebody else calling out the poses this time. And as much as I don't have a lot of faith or confidence in Steve Weinberger, at least we know he's been here before. Who the heck are these other judges anyway who are calling this show? Wouldn't it be nice if the IFBB disclosed such information to us so we can call them out on it? Oh well, let's carry on because I want to quickly go through the final call out from prejudging, featuring the eventual winner, Iain Valliere, and also Jon Delarosa, who somehow ended up taking third, even though he was standing in the middle the whole time, and I felt he should have won the show. Okay, but as for Iain, I will say this, his coloring was much better, and he looked a little fuller than he did a month ago at the Tampa Pro. So was he improved? Yes, absolutely. Was this the best Iain Valliere ever? I would say no. I thought he probably looked better at last year's Vancouver Pro. But regardless, in this front double bye, it's close. I think you can make an argument for Valliere. The quads and taper look good, the arms are big and full. My problem is that his chest looks small in this pose. He reminds me of Evan Santapani in this one, if you guys remember him. The way his armpits just seem to kind of swallow up his pecs, it looks kind of odd. Also, he has no calves, and I mean 0 calves, okay? The guy is walking on pegs. So there is that. For this reason, I prefer Jon Delarosa, the shorter guy there in the middle. Unlike Iain, Jon doesn't really have any weaknesses or missing body parts in this pose. He's even got good calves and forearms. The only flaw I can see is that his right leg looks a little smaller than the left, particularly that outer head. I don't know if he had an injury before or what, but it throws off his symmetry ever so slightly. But even so, I think you gotta give it to him. Or Rodriguez, for that matter, who looks even better than he did before. I'm thinking all that posing helped harden the guy out because I'm seeing more cuts through his lower body this time around. Yeah, you know what? In fact, I'm giving it to Justin here. I think he's got the most wow factor. Front lat spread. Okay, now, this is a shot that legit you gotta give to Iain. He's got the best V-taper going, and with that quad flare, his X-frame is also unmatched. It's a shame about those calves, but he does enough elsewhere to clinch the pose. After that, I like Patrick next, then Jon. Rodriguez is still struggling, it seems. Okay, so the side chest, for my money, goes to Delarosa. He's the most balanced and complete. Nothing is out of proportion. I just wish he had a bit more posing oil on to help make those muscles pop more, because he looks a little dull and flat, and he might have been a little depleted, but what I mean is that we're not seeing the lights bounce off those muscle bellies, like how it is for Iain or Patrick. Speaking of which, even though I'm really not a fan of his stance or posing style here, I'd probably have Iain in second. He's bigger than Patrick with a similar level of conditioning, and as we saw before, Rodriguez kind of hides away in this one and makes himself look more compact than he really is. Turning around, yeah, Justin's excited. He knows what's up. And sure enough, he's decimating the lineup yet again. I'd put Jon Delarosa firmly in second here. He may be a little undersized, but he's dry and conditioned from head to toe. Just look at that lower back with the Christmas tree coming in. Check the glutes and hamstrings also. He's the most peeled one in this group. Iain, conversely, is the least conditioned from the rear. I mean, the guy has 0 striations in his glutes whatsoever. I don't know how you even win a modern day show looking like this. When your back is mediocre at best, and you didn't even nail your conditioning? It truly baffles me that they gave him the win. I thought even top 2 would have been generous, but first place was a total gift. Even Patrick gives him a run for his money here, despite being thoroughly out-muscled. But anyway, in the lat spread, Valliere fares a little better, but not much. I still give this to Justin Rodriguez, no questions asked. After that, it's a lot closer. Delarosa has the best lower body, but his back's probably the smallest. I like more over Valliere, though, just because of better conditioning, and he at least has some semblance of calf development. So Iain's at best coming in third here. Side triceps is tough to call. I want to like Iain, but the tricep itself is almost non-existent. He's got virtually no horseshoe or lateral head. It's too bad because the rest of his body looks great. Patrick Moore looks the most statuesque though, so despite giving up some size, I think I'd give it to him. Jon and Justin are solid too though. But for what it's worth, I think either Maxx Charles or Hassan Mostafa are better in it than anybody here. Onto the abs and the thigh. This is a good one for Jon Delarosa. The midsection is tight and defined, and the quads show some pretty good separation when he fully flexes them. I think he takes it handily. Iain Valliere, on the other hand, looks like he's fading. There's no sharp separation here in the abs or thighs, so again, you gotta, by this point, start questioning what the hell these judges were thinking. Because he's winning very few poses and just got smoked from the back. Maybe he can turn it around in the most muscular, but no, I wouldn't say so. This hands on hip is nothing special. I like Delarosa's version much better. He looks way wider and is showing deeper cuts. Okay, so they shuffle them around and make him repeat a couple poses, but I've already called everything at length, so I'm just going to let it play out. I think you guys get the picture by now. No, Iain did not deserve it, in my opinion. No disrespect to him personally, I have nothing against the guy. I just simply don't think he was the best on stage this weekend. I would have given it to Jon Delarosa, because I feel like he was the most well-rounded and had the least number of flaws. I'd probably have Justin Rodriguez in second, since he seemed to be getting stronger as they went along, or perhaps even Maxx Charles. Those guys were both top 3 in my eyes. Then, after that, Iain in fourth. Although you can make a case for Hassan Mostafa beating him as well. So yeah, guys, I don't know how to explain these results. To be fair, it was an incredibly close-fought contest. Like I said, they all had flaws, and the poses were pretty evenly divided amongst the field. That's why I'm not calling it a robbery, because nobody was exactly robbed of the victory here. There was no clear-cut winner. So while I don't envy the judges having to call this thing, the fact of the matter is that I don't think they did a very good job. It almost feels like they didn't really know what to do, and just resorted to politics and recency bias, since Iain Valliere was fresh in their minds coming off the Tampa Pro. I don't know, man, but that's all I got for this one. Do you guys feel these placings were justified? Do you think Iain deserved it? Or do you agree with me that some of these calls were pretty questionable? Either way, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more. Until next time, this is the Tominator, signing out, and I'll be back!